There's been a lot of Bernie and Michelle and Wally recently, so
we're mixing it up.
Anthony and I decided, you know what, we gotta bring in the cool kids because it's just time to do that.
I think they were calling us the B team, Trey.
Yes, yeah, we were developing that reputation after a while. I think we had to come in and had to show them up a little bit. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Monday nights, ACL Live. Usually we're talking about something coming up. And what do you know, Anthony? We got our first pro event broadcast of the year. The first one.
Yeah, no doubt. This is it, right? It kind of feels like we're kicking off the pro season. I was doing some quick math. I was like, wait, 5 months. 5 months we've been waiting since September to kind of get it going again. And yeah, I'm excited about this one. I think it's going to bring a lot of storylines. We've got this kind of whole like David and Goliath thing going on. We've got these legends versus some of the players that are trying to, to have this comeback stories. We've got some veterans going up against rookie pros making their ESPN debut, so I think it's going to be cool how it's laid out. And then of course we got the SuperHole as well. So that'll be exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be a ton of fun. I mean, looking back at last year and previous years, like this was the weekend that we were usually kicking off a national. So the schedule looks a little bit different this year. This year, pulling up the pro shootouts are a little bit earlier in the year. Nationals get flexed a little bit later. Those are going to accompany teams events and nationals to kind of go all the way through the entire season. But I think it's just cool. And the other thing that's interesting, Anthony, is like the winners of these shootouts for the earliest ever, they're going to get a bid into that Pro Shootout Championship, and that'll be in August this year. It'll be at the World Championship. So it's a lot earlier. Last year, we're talking about May to September. Now we're talking about February all the way to August. So, sometimes we talk about this, like, is it an advantage or a disadvantage to win early? I mean, I guess when you're talking about Pro Shootouts, it's kind of like just win, and I don't care when it is, right? Just win, right?
Yeah, the advantage obviously comes as people win, some of that talent starts to get out of the way a little bit, right? But certainly you want to get that win out as soon as possible and just know you have that ticket. Plus, I'm sure players are like, all right, cool. I got my ticket. I don't have to travel to 2 or 3 or 4 more events. I'm chilling and, just waiting for it to go down.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think anybody that wins anything is going to have, is going to be happy about it regardless. So, all right. So team, what are we doing tonight, right? What are we talking about here on ACL Live? Well, this is going to be a preview of what we're going to see this weekend. This Friday, February 10th, it's a late one. We're 10:30 local time. Yeah. So 12:30, just past midnight on Friday evening. That's going into Saturday morning here on the East Coast. I got a live Sports Center lead in. Everything's later when you talk about West Coast Super Bowl. So it's a little bit later. Get your popcorn out. Get your PJs on. You can watch some cornhole late at night. Anthony and Jeff McCarrick are going to be on the mic as well as Michelle Thompson at Sideline Reporter. I will be in the front row just throwing things and heckling Anthony throughout the entire broadcast. So it's gonna be a great time. But yeah, we're going to have a 2-hour block starting right there at 10:30 local time, 12:30 a.m. Eastern time, where we'll have the first hour being that SuperHole 4, that second hour being the Pro Shootout number 1 kickoff of the season. Tonight, we're going to talk through all 3 matchups of the Pro Shootout in depth, highlighting what you guys can be watching this weekend, different things about the game, different elements of the game that might interest us, and then to end the show, we'll have a little fun talking about our first SuperHole 4 Prelim of the year. We'll talk about some of those matchups. So certainly gonna be a fun ride. But Anthony, like I said, you, Jeff, Michelle, I mean, first time that you 3 will be together as a unit on a broadcast. Having Michelle thrown in there, she's becoming now a sideline reporter for the league. So I got to ask, are you excited? I know everybody's excited for Anthony to get in the booth. Everybody loves Anthony in the booth. So
I appreciate that, everybody.
How does it feel?
So I think I'm fortunate, right, to have done the USA Cornhole stuff. So this will be trying to do the math the other day. It's like my 7th broadcast. So yes, I'm new to the ACL content team on here, but I'm real fortunate to have those kind of that practice runs on CBS, and then 2 ESPN broadcasts at World. So, man, I'm pumped. I'm really pumped to, it's a different environment, I think, coming in here in the pro division versus the USA Cornhole. I had a blast on the USA Cornhole as well, but definitely a different vibe and a different feel over here. I'm excited to work more in the booth with Jeff. So we've done quite a few broadcasts together. Adding Michelle to the mix will be a new kind of little twist. I'm excited to see how that, pass it over to Mish, pass it back, kind of seeing how that feel works out. Getting a little bit more, whether it's some in-game, or during timeouts or during commercial break interviews with the players, getting into the stands a little bit, how Mish is going to work. So yeah, I'm super excited, man. I'm super excited and really just looking forward to building that kind of 2-man relationship with Jeff and really grind at it, just like the game and just keep improving with every broadcast. And after one season, look back and go, all right, we've come a long way. We got something going here.
Absolutely. Bernie jumping in the chat saying, thank you, Anthony. What's funny, Anthony, is Bernie asked, I'm traveling into Arizona. I need you to jump in. But I don't know if you noticed today on the call, when he jumps in to call in, he's got the casino in the background. So we know Bernie isn't driving in the car. That's why he hasn't needed to jump on today. So shout out Anthony. Shout out the professor for filling in for
I got you, Bernie
there.
I got you.
He's got to take care of the commish. That's enough of a job.
Hey, I'll do this. You take care of that.
Yes. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break. When we return, we are going to dive into some pro shootout analysis. We're going to start with the men's singles finale of Pro Shootout number 1, Jamie Graham versus Kyle Malone. Anthony and I's analysis when we come back right after this. What is up, Cornhole fans everywhere? Trey, Ryder, Anthony Ayon here on ACL Live, talking all about Pro Shootout number 1 and the first SuperHole Prelim of the season. Anthony's watching the comments in Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm watching those. Looks like we got some Canadians joining us in the chat. Shout out some of these Canadian players for tuning in and watching. And, of course, if you're watching on ACL Cornhole TV, thank you so much for tuning in here Monday, February 6th. So it's gonna be a fun weekend. We head out to Arizona again. Arizona, we'll be in Scottsdale, Arizona, Friday, February 10th. That's this Friday, 10:30 local time broadcast, 2 straight hours. That's 12:30 a.m. Eastern. So it's gonna be a long night. So make sure you get a nap during the day. Get a little rest and relaxation so you can be ready for some late night cornhole. So before we get into it, Anthony, I got to get your Super Bowl prediction. Super Bowl prediction on Sunday. You got Eagles, Chiefs. Who you got?
Yeah, so I don't know, man. So if I said anything other than the Chiefs, I know the people that live around me, some of close friends and neighbors would be like, "Yo, that wasn't cool, man." So yeah, I would have to say Chiefs, just basically based on the people surrounding me and who they're going to be rooting for. What about
That's
you?
good. Yeah, I'm going Eagles. I think it's the squad's too good. I like Jalen Hurts. Not a huge Eagles fan, but I just think they're a better team than the Chiefs. But I don't know. We'll see. It'll
See
be
how it turns out. Yeah.
as long as it's a good game and some good commercials and some good halftime stuff. That's a good Super Bowl for me. So, all right. Well, let's get into it. First matchup of Pro Shootout number 1. We have Jamie Graham versus Kyle Malone. And Anthony, you and I talked a little bit about this on Around the ACL today. Make sure you guys go listen. Shout out, plug for Around the ACL this week, comes out tomorrow. But, we talked a little bit about this, and this is interesting because this sets up as, on one end, you have this unbelievable, incredible player, an all-time great, if you will. In Jamie Graham. Now, to put this in perspective that a lot of people don't know right now is that Jamie Graham has an opportunity to pass Matt Guy and stand alone as the winningest player of all time in ACL history and pass him in total titles. Both Jamie Graham and Matt Guy, when you add together all of their titles, and a title includes shootouts, opens, nationals, singles, and doubles, Jamie Graham and Matt Guy both have 18 titles all time. Jamie Graham has an opportunity this week to get number 19 and put himself number 1 overall. And is that for good? Or does Matt possibly come back into it, repass Jamie? Do we have this back and forth? Or is this one of those things where Jamie Graham passes Matt Guy for good? Who knows? But he's got to get that title first. So this, on one end, Anthony, is someone that comes in with all of these titles and all these accolades. Then you go over to Kyle Malone, who's had those accolades. A year ago, like this week, he won a kickoff battle with Cody Johnson in pro doubles. Back in 2020, him and Dalton McClem on the double side, dominant, right?
Yep.
But there have been periods of highs and lows in Malone's game. But recently, all we're hearing out of the Conference of the Southeast is that Kyle Malone is not losing to anybody. So this really feels like, to me, Anthony, a battle of the elite player right now that is playing out of his mind, trying to get into that status of being a top 5 singles player versus arguably number 1 or number 2 all time in the ACL as far as wins go. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of different perspectives that you could take, Anthony, but this really feels like, do you value the all time or do you value the here and now?
Yeah, I think this is going to be my favorite matchup of the 3. There's so much going on with this one. So, yeah, if we were going to kind of break these guys down side by side, and I think you nailed it on where the titles lay and how important that's going to be for Jamie Graham to kind of take over that number 1. But you're talking about 2 baggers, similar age, 24 and 26. They've both been playing the game about the same amount of times. Jamie, 9 years, Kyle Malone, 10 years. And you talked about it. There's that little lull. Now, Kyle Malone, he's got a couple young kids. So there was a moment in there where he kind of just stepped away from the game at that level, just playing and grinding constantly. And I was talking to him early this morning, and it kind of got me laughing. He was like, yeah, so I was in the game first. I saw Jamie Graham come in. He's like a 15, 16-year-old kid. And I saw him just practicing and grinding. And 9 years later, he's still practicing and grinding. It never stopped for him. And that's what you get. 9 years later, 18 championship titles. Kyle with 3, like you were saying. Now, all of Kyle's do lay in doubles and in a non-round limited format. So here's an opportunity to come out in singles in a new format and say, hey, I can compete in this format and in this game as well. And I think what's making this one extra cool is Kyle Malone has the capability to come out and be a top 10 player this year. He's not on anyone's top 10 yet. Maybe not a month ago, but now maybe you start talking about Kyle Malone as a top player. I mean, I was talking to him earlier. He's won both conferences. He's won all of his regionals but one. He's basically one game away from undefeated locally. So he's absolutely just killing it. Now, we should mention Those boys did go head-to-head once at open number 1. Jamie Graham got the better of him then. So fast forward to today now, though, you got a much better, a much more improved Kyle Malone. So there's so many stories going along with this one to talk about. Jamie Graham changing his pitch a little bit. No one's talking about that yet. It's very, very new. But he did make another change to his pitch. Jamie Graham, just one of those guys that, and I know you, Trey, you're going just like Cheyenne throwing carpetbags.
Yeah.
Why is the 18 championship title guy changing his swing a little bit? So he just keeps trying to improve, minimizing variation. He's really tightening up his mechanics. He has a less deep of a backswing. He said his airmail is just killer right now. So I think if you look at these two guys, I mean, let's start with you, Trey. What do you think? Round 1, round 2, how do you think these boys come out at the start of the game? What do you see happening maybe in the first quarter of that round of 10 round limited format?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the really interesting part because, I don't know exactly which type of Reynolds bag that Kyle is going to come out with, but Jamie Graham has switched from, I shouldn't say completely, he did mix it up a little bit last year between the Fire Incinerator, which plays a little faster, to the Vengeance, which is a non-carpet, slower bag, right? He went back and forth, and right now, from what I've seen, he's almost exclusively throwing the Vengeance at this current time. So I think he's going to come out and throw a slower bag. Now, you combat that with the fact that these boards are going to be brand new boards, right? The SuperHole Shootout boards are brand new. It's something they may switch again in the middle of the season, depending on sponsors. But right now, it's a new season. It's a new, a new start to the year. You got to have a fresh set of broadcast boards. So as we all know, the board is going to play fast. Yes. So that is going to be interesting. Now, what we have seen is in some conditions, you get that broadcast court under the lights. Sometimes you can get a little tackiness, but then you also got to take into consideration, we're going to be in Arizona, Anthony, right? No humidity anywhere. So I do expect these to play fast. So I would expect these two players to come out with slower bags. Now, the issue is, I still think all things considered, there's not going to be a lot of blocking the hole here, right? So do you get one of them trying to block the hole too much? And if that's the case, you end up left or right, and within the first 2 rounds, and you put yourself in a 4-0 deficit.
Yes, exactly.
That might be a key here, right? Neither one of these players may not want to run bags the entire way, but if you think about it, if they choose not to go that direction, does it end up hurting them in the long run? So I don't know. I don't know how it's going to play as far as conditions go.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same thing you're saying, and then to confirm the bag, so they're actually throwing the same slow side bag. So like you said, the Vengeance, the Hurricanes is what Malone's going to be coming out with. So both surefire-like slow sides. And I think that's perfect for a brand new set of boards on the broadcast. They're not going to come out with something too crazy slow or too crazy fast, kind of that middle speed, something they can work with to control. But yeah, I think I agree. I think they're both going to come out first couple rounds, run the bags to the hole just to get a feel for the first couple rounds, get a feel for speed. And I think at some point, Jamie Graham's going to be the one. In my opinion, I think Jamie Graham is going to be the one that needs to make the first move. I think Kyle Malone is going to run bags at a higher rate today. If you look at some of his stats, they're absolutely ridiculous. So I think at some point, Jamie's going to go, all right, we've both thrown 12 bags in a row. Maybe I make the first move. And it doesn't necessarily need to be a block, in my opinion. If you're running bags to the hole at a controlled speed, just dripping the front of the hole, and I keep saying that, I think that is going to be the ultimate key to this game, just coming up a little bit short. Maybe you're on the front of the hole. Sometimes that's enough to get you that, to get that deflection and get 2 points out of it. Sometimes, maybe you'll end up at a nice solid level 1, level 2. But I think once you get to that point, that's where Jamie Graham's going to succeed. Now, Kyle Malone's airmail is absolutely ridiculous. His airmail is going to have to be on as soon as you end up in a little bit of traffic in front of the hole. But Jamie Graham does have a deeper bag. He's going to have a little bit more tools in his back pocket. He's going to be able to work a little bit more. Kyle Malone's, if his airmail's on, it's going to be hard to beat him, because if he's running bags and he's hitting airmail, Jamie Graham might be in trouble. But I think Jamie Graham makes the first move.
I'm going to leave you with one last thought before we take another break, talking about women's singles. 2020, Kyle Malone switches to kill shot bags. wins a national.
Yep.
2022 comes out of nowhere, switches to Sure Shot bags, wins a national. 2023, he switches to Reynolds bags. Does he go 3 for 3 with picking a new bag and hitting a home run with it? I don't know. Time will tell, Anthony. Time will tell. We're going to take another break. When we come back, now that you've got your preview of Kyle Malone versus Jamie Graham, we're going to talk women's singles final. The all-time winningest female ever in cornhole, Cheyenne Bubenheim, will take on Rosie Streaker. More on that right after this. Welcome back, Cornhole fans. ACL Live, your favorite Monday night show. I know you don't. I know you're not lying about that, guys. I know you're not lying. Are you watching? Are you a streamer, Anthony? Are you watching any movies, any shows recently? Anything good?
Yeah. So the wife loves the TV, and I'm usually like go all the time. But at the end of the night, we usually get like one show in. Actually, Jimmy Humans recommended it for us. We're watching The 100 on Netflix. So that one's pretty interesting. We attached to it pretty good. We're through we're in season 7 in only like a month and a half. So it's basically when the wife, once we get it going, she's like, let's do another one. Let's do another one. I'm like, all right, it's getting late.
Yeah, I'm kind of in between. I just finished up. I am watching The Last of Us. I'm kind of caught up on that. That's my active watch right now. But there's a couple other. I've been watching. I just finished The White Lotus, which was kind of weird, but kind of good at the same time. It was a little bit out there. So I'm kind of I'm looking for the next one. I might have to check out The 100. So
that one was cool through season 5, starting to get a little bit technological and kind of weird a little bit. But yeah, last night she was like, do you mind if I read? I'm not really into the show. I looked over. It was 9:05. I'm like, go ahead. I ran down to the basement. I got an hour of bags in. I was like, yes, let's do that a little bit more. I got an hour of practice.
You got the lab in the basement. Yeah, that's right. You get the lab in the basement. Right. All right. Well, some of us on YouTube checking in. T-Bear's calling Jamie by 7, which would be a pretty solid win in a round limited format. Pretty good one. You got Robert Ellis and others checking in. So thank you guys for tuning in on YouTube. Anybody good in Facebook world, Anthony, tuning in? Anybody good?
Australia tuning in. What time is it in Australia? I don't know. That just seems like a opposite.
It's gotta be zone. Isn't it 9 a.m. or something like that?
Okay. So that's doable. That's doable. That's awesome.
Love it. All right. So next up on the docket, we have to talk about the women's singles final. This one is going to be another good one. And this one, also has some interesting developments here, Anthony. You talk about, so I'll set the stage again, kind of similar to how I said it with Jamie and Kyle.
Yes.
On one end, you have the winningest female of all time, not only in women's specific events, but Cheyenne also has the most ACL titles, those gender neutral titles out of any other female in the history of the sport. She's won shootouts. She's won women's singles world championships. She's won women doubles world championships. You name it, she has that accolade. And that's formerly Cheyenne Renner, now Cheyenne Bubenheim, after getting married this past offseason. So you have all of that in Cheyenne Bubenheim taking on a fellow Southeast Conference player in Rosie Streaker. Now, Rosie Streaker is not lacking any titles herself. She is both the 2019 and 2021 women's doubles world champion. Now, in both those instances, after those years of winning a world championship, she had another off year. Well, in 2020, it was because she had twins, took the year off from playing. That understands. She comes back in 2021, wins another world championship, but in 2022 didn't have the same level of play that she had in previous seasons. Now, we did talk to her today, Anthony, and she said it was partly because of a shoulder injury that she had dealing with that she kind of kept on the down low that I didn't even know about throughout the entire season. That shoulder injury prevented her from getting that full release. She described it as her T-Rex arm. She couldn't release it all the way up. Everything was short-armed in her release. So she's really hoping that 2023 is a bounce-back season again. And if the trend sticks, her and Sam Finley are obviously going to win the women's doubles world championship, right? Every other year they gotta win the odd years apparently. So
That's right.
So yeah, I think this is going to be interesting, Anthony. Obviously, there's another bag change with Rosie Streaker. She's going over to the BG Sorcerers, which gives her a little bit more consistency on her slide shot, but there's a lot to unpack here, Anthony. I don't know where you want to tackle it. We could talk about Rosie's resurgence, talk about the fact that she's now beaten Cheyenne Renner 3 times in a row at conference events.
Yes.
We can talk about Cheyenne Bubenheim throwing carpet. I mean, where are we going with this, Anthony? So much to cover.
Yeah, a lot of ways to cover it, a lot of angles we could take. But yeah, I think big picture, it's very similar to the Graham Malone matchup, like you were saying. Even where I was saying Jamie Graham might not want to run bags with Kyle Malone right now. Same thing with Rosie Streaker. I don't think you want to run bags with Rosie Streaker right now. You mentioned the Sorcerers. That bag is just playing perfectly for her. The speed she's getting, it's a good push, a good collect bag. She's not getting as much hop out of it with that really small micro resin compared to what she was getting with like the Vikings when she was trying those other, those bags work perfectly for a different style, not for her. So she's dangerous right now. I mean, putting up really, really high PPRs right now. Now, Cheyenne isn't going to really try and bring some type of a block game typically, but you mentioned use of the carpet now. So I was actually trying to catch her. Hey, we're probably going to talk about I just sent her a message. We're probably going to talk about this carpet. Can you are you going in with carpet or not? And here's my response. Sorry, I'm at a wedding. Damn it. She's leaving us hanging, Trey.
You get nothing. You know, she could have said, sorry, I'm at a wedding, but I'm throwing carpet. So she's not giving us any information. She is not giving Rosie Streaker any type of scouting report whatsoever.
I wouldn't. I know you're going to disagree, but I'm assuming she's been hustling over the last month throwing carpet. I wouldn't hate it going in on brand new boards on a broadcast against a bag running Rosie Streaker. I wouldn't hate it if she came out with carpet. Now, Cheyenne is obviously going to play a whole running game too. She's got a legit push bag. I mean, I don't think anyone cleans up stuff in front of the hole better than Cheyenne Renner, maybe an Alex Rawls. I mean, that's one of her specialties. So I think the recipe for her is, again, similar to what I was saying with Jamie Graham. If she can lay that deep level one and maybe not throw them intentionally, just control your speed to where you're approaching the hole, drip in the front. If you come up short, we know she's going to come up behind and clean. Make Rosie Streaker decide, do I want to step out on this? The minute you get Rosie Streaker kind of moving around the box, I think Cheyenne's winning. If she can get her to do a 2-foot, 3-foot step out, she's going, all right, that's what I want. I need her to move in the box. And I think that's going to be the key.
Yeah, you say the key, there's a key for Cheyenne is that deep block. I think the key is 100% on the other side, and that's Rosie Streaker's going to not throw bags off the back of the board.
Yes.
Right? When we talk about anytime we've seen Rosie Streaker not succeed on a broadcast board, it's because she's thrown bags off the back of the board, right? That's been her MO. But when she
Yeah.
doesn't do that and she has a little bit of control of her pace of the bag up the board, that's when she's succeeded at the highest level. That's when she's gotten the big wins. And obviously, when you look at the statistics of her versus Cheyenne, they've played 3 games recently at conference events, and Rosie has won all 3.
Yes.
And if you look at the statistics of those games, Anthony, they are disgusting. They are absolutely disgusting.
I mean, you're looking at these things going, is that Devin Harbaugh putting up these numbers? Because those are Devin Harbaugh numbers.
One of them was an 11.5, I believe.
Unbelievable.
11.5 PPR, points per round average, in a game between Cheyenne Bubenheim and Rosie Streaker. Rosie wins that game, and she did give us indication that Cheyenne at that time was not throwing carpet. So this wasn't an instance of Cheyenne trying to block too much and was missing a block. This was Cheyenne Bubenheim doing what she does best, going to run a bunch of bags in, and Rosie Streaker just outdid her in that way. Now, we all know there's a difference between playing in a conference event, right, and playing on a main broadcast stage live on ESPN, right?
Right.
But I still stand by the fact that when Rosie Streaker has been at her best, when she's won those world championships, when she's won the shootouts that she has, not come in second place or fourth place, it's because she's limited the number of bags that go off the back of the board. Now, Cheyenne, I think one point to you, one credit to you, Anthony, is if she's able to lay that block, sometimes maybe if you miss just a little bit, that block can maybe push you even more to possibly go off the back of the board on a hard type of push. So, I think each player has their own individual key here to be successful.
Yeah, no doubt. And we should probably give a shout out to Florida, by the way.
Yeah, 3 of the first 4 players.
3 of the first 4, Florida. Yeah, Florida is tough right now. But yeah, like you were saying, you mentioned the 11.5. Rosie threw a 10-9 tournament. That's a whole tournament. Like, how do you beat a 10-9 tournament? So I think Cheyenne's going to have to get in her way at some point. I think it's the same storyline. They're going to throw 12 bags in the row. Both of them are going to go 12 bags in a row, and Cheyenne's going to go, all right, how long am I going to try and beat Rosie Streaker to the hole? I might have to make a move. I think Cheyenne has to make the first move. Yeah.
All right. So drop it in the comments. Who do you think is going to win, Cheyenne Bubenheim or Rosie Streaker? Again, this Friday, February 10th, 10:30 local time. That's 12:30 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2, SuperHole, followed by the shootout. We've gone through men's singles, Jamie Graham versus Kyle Malone. We've gone through women's singles, Cheyenne Bubenheim and Rosie Streaker. Next up, we are going to talk the doubles final of Pro Shootout number 1. Ryan Smith and Ryan Wiedenfeld going to be taking on Jimmy McGuffin and Damon Dennis. Talk about old school versus new school, Anthony.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's going to be a fun one to watch and a fun one to talk about. We'll do it right after this. ACL Nation, welcome back. Welcome back, ACL Live. Monday, February 6th, getting ready for the pro season. Like Anthony said earlier, we had a few months off when we've just been craving it. And once we roll into the summer, though, Anthony, we won't be craving it anymore. It'll be nonstop, back to back. We got some cool places, though. I mean, some places that we haven't been before. We're going to different. I mean, any place on the schedule, jump off to you. Any place that you're excited to go for the first time?
Yeah, Miami looks cool. Fort Worth, I think it was Fort Worth, Texas, looks kind of cool. Never been to Wisconsin or kind of up in that area. That one could be kind of cool as well. So I think I'm looking forward to those three.
Yeah, Wisconsin in particular is going to be on site at the Summerfest Music Festival. So Zach Bryan, Imagine Dragons, all going to be performing that weekend. We'll be inside the festival, so it's going to be kind of that. You get all the broadcasts where there's like random non-cornhole people as fans, and it ends up being this electric broadcast. I'm so jealous. You started off in Nashville with that incredible atmosphere when we had that USA Cornhole Club Championship. It's just been you get all the good ones, Anthony.
Let's keep that rolling.
All right, so we just talked through some of the men's and women's singles of Pro Shootout number 1. So let's dive a little bit into doubles, Anthony. Doubles, and this one again, I think like on the surface, it's like all big names in a way, but there's also some really cool, like in-depth individual storylines to watch here, right? Like putting together a keys of the game is actually, I find it really fun in between these 3 different matchups. And especially on the double side, you couldn't get more opposite, right? No. On one end, I'm going to call for a second Ryan Smith, a younger gun. I know he's not a 16-year-old like some of these guys, but he plays that play style, right? You got Ryan Smith and Ryan Wiedenfeld, this dirty play style, carpet bag, roll, big shot, big push type of play style, going against old school, flip it over on the slick side, throw it up, let the bag do the work, Jimmy McGuffin and Damon Dennis. If I got an airmail, okay, fine, I'll airmail every once in a while, but right? Only if you got to twist my arm to do that, right? Right. It's got to be put bags in the hole, and I think it's going to be an absolutely incredible experience to watch these 2 dueling styles at the top of their game, right? This isn't a first-round matchup. This is for a final, and I think that's what makes it so cool about cornhole is that you can get, this is like in the NFL, the number 1 offense making the Super Bowl and the number 1 defense making the Super Bowl, right? And you just get to see those play styles duel it out for a championship.
Yeah, you mentioned the only thing that these guys have similar is that they're new partnerships. That's it. Everything else is different. If you take the average ages, double of the average ages. Stylistically, completely different. And we talked about it a little bit around the ACL today, and I was saying I'm trying to process how to describe the 2 different styles, and I keep coming back to MMA or mixed martial arts. If you go old school and you got a Chuck Liddell, right? He's a one-dimensional guy. He's going to try and beat you on his feet. He doesn't want to go to the ground, knockout power. And then you come in, here comes a Hoist Gracie, right? What the heck is this pulling guard thing? Why is he trying to pull guard? Why is he trying to beat me strategically on the ground? Ryan Smith and Ryan Wiedenfeld are going to want to pull guard. And maybe that'd be a cool description of when you start to see a player go into a real dirty style game. Oh, they're going to pull guard. They're trying to really beat you strategically with a different style. And that's what's going to make this matchup so cool, is you're going to see both teams trying to implement their style and win over the other. So I'm really excited about this one. Really excited about Ryan Wiedenfeld making his ESPN debut. Rewind 2 years ago, I was watching this kid live when he was 14, and you knew at that time he was going to be special. So it wasn't if he was going to make ESPN, it was when he was going to make it ESPN, and when is going to be this Friday. So I'm super, super excited for him to go out there and show what he can do.
Yeah, he was the advanced singles world champion. And if he follows in the footsteps of the previous advanced singles world champion, that would be Alex Rawls. So we know what kind of season that Alex Rawls had coming into his rookie year. Can Wiedenfeld have a similar type year? Obviously, if you're a Ryan Wiedenfeld fan, you're hoping he has something similar. And there's obviously the elephant in the room, Anthony. It's going to be an emotional weekend for the normally very emotionless Ryan Wiedenfeld, someone that doesn't show a ton of emotion. I kind of made the joke looking through TikTok that I saw Ryan Wiedenfeld throw an airmail trick shot, and he gave me a fist pump when he hit it on TikTok. And I was like, that's more emotion than I saw when I won the Advanced Singles World Championship.
Yes.
So someone who's normally so reserved, having such an emotional roller coaster over the past 3 weeks, just 3 weeks or 2 weeks ago, Ryan Wiedenfeld losing his father in an unexpected way. I mean, just a horrific and horrible past couple weeks it has been. And for, Ryan Wiedenfeld was at the Open in New Mexico, and to see just someone that's 16 years old just be able to be strong and brave like that and be able to get into the community with his family. I mean, it's just, it's almost inspiring in a way. It gets the emotions rolling. I mean, it's incredible what we're seeing. And, that's kind of the big thing that we're going to see coming into this event, right? His entire family is going to be there. This is going to be an emotional broadcast and experience for the Wiedenfeld family as they're there. And the question is like, how does that affect Wiedenfeld, right? Some people it can be just too much to overcome, and it's just a lot going through the mind. Others, it can be that uplifting, like, awe-inspiring experience. I mean, you just never know what can happen. But I know that everybody in the cornhole community is in a way going to be a Ryan Wiedenfeld fan for this event this weekend, for him to battle through what he's going through and what his family is going through. So, but it's just going to be, it is really going to be interesting to watch him play through this game, knowing everything that he's been through, Anthony.
Yeah, such a tough situation. And as a father, like I was saying with Wiedenfeld, it wasn't if he was going to make ESPN, it was when. So those conversations took place. When you make your first, father-son conversations, when you make your first ESPN broadcast, this is what it's going to be like. This is where I'm going to be. I'm going to be there supporting. I have those conversations with my son because he has this thing in his mind that he's going to be an NBA player. I don't want to break it to the math down to him that you have like a 0.01 chance or something like that, but we still talk about it, like if it's actually going to happen, So how tough is that going to be when you're actually there and you're looking over and that it's just missing. There's something missing, right? So really sad situation to talk about. But unfortunately for Damon Dennis and McGuffin, nobody's going to be rooting for them. Sorry. Even Damon Dennis, even Damon Dennis and McGuffin are going to be rooting for Ryan Wiedenfeld. And I love Damon Dennis and Jimmy McGuffin, some of the best guys in the business, but it's going to be tough to get anyone rooting for you in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. But, all the emotion and everything aside, from a strategic perspective, Anthony, and like you said, it's going to be a fun game to watch dueling styles go at it. No matter the sport, whether you're talking MMA, you're talking football, having two contrasting styles and two contrasting strengths go head to head is always fun to watch. So always fun to watch. So, all right, we've gone through men's singles, women's singles, and doubles. Well, there's another big broadcast happening right before the Pro Shootout finale, and it involves some high-profile celebrities getting their first opportunity, not to play on a main stage, but to play cornhole on a main stage, right? SuperHole is back. It is SuperHole 4 this year. 8 prelims lead up to a SuperHole 4 championship in Rock Hill, South Carolina in August. But first, we got to kick off this SuperHole series. The first prelim, Friday, February 10th, 10:30 p.m. local time. That's 12:30 a.m. Eastern. When we return, Anthony and I are going to talk through all the ins and outs and all the secrets that we don't know about who is going to take down this first SuperHole prelim of the season. Back in a minute. Welcome back, Cornhole fans. It is ACL Live Monday nights. It's not Wally, it's not Bernie, it's not Michelle. You got the B team, Trey and Anthony here. They've been having too much fun on these Monday nights. Although I know Bernie appreciated the golf lessons. He probably, or I don't know if he was giving lessons or getting lessons with Stacy and Mike in Arizona. They love out there in Arizona. They've already out there. Yeah, we got to go out there early, guys. We got to make sure everything's okay, right? Then they go play golf for 3 days, right? So we know how this works, Anthony. We know how this works. So we don't get out there until Thursday. So we will be out there Thursday, Arizona, Phoenix area, one of my favorite places to go to. So I am excited. Have you been out to Phoenix? Been to Phoenix?
Yeah, I did a bachelor party there like maybe 8 or 9 years ago, and nonstop golf, 2 days, just played 2.5. You'd squeeze as many as you can in, right? 2.5 rounds a day. So yeah, it was a good time. I loved it.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, we have talked all about Pro Shootout #1, the men's singles, women's singles, and doubles championship games that you can see on ESPN2 on Friday. But like we said, we got another fun little event going on. It's the return of the SuperHole series, and we have a great lineup this time. 4 celebrities: Ryan Fitzpatrick, Fitzmagic, as some like to call him, Tyler Lockett.
Wait, is it Fitzmagic or Fitztragic?
Oh. Well, it depends. I guess it depends how good he is at cornhole, right?
That's right. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Tyler Lockett of the Seattle Seahawks. Then, of course, on the baseball front, former teammates, but great players, Jock Peterson, Jocktober, as some fans used to call the month of October, of course, and Justin Turner, formerly Dodger, now a new Boston Red Sox. So it's going to be a fun one. We talk about first matchups. Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be paired with Ryan Smith. So Ryan Smith's going to do a little double dip action on the broadcast. They're going to be taking on Tyler Lockett and Cheyenne Bubenheim. That'll be our first semifinal of SuperHole IV Prelim #1. And I think behind besides the obvious, Anthony, right? I mean, when you start looking and trying to figure out celebrities, right? You talk about, Ryan Fitzpatrick versus Tyler Lockett. I think you brought up a really good point on around the ACL. I'll let you make it again. I originally was saying to myself, look, Ryan Fitzpatrick, every time we put a quarterback on this stage, look at Sam Darnold, look at Doug Flutie, look at Jay Cutler. They usually perform at a pretty high level, right? But you made the really good point about Tyler Lockett, a multi-sport athlete, right? Someone that's been able to pick up many different sports. And yes, he's a professional wide receiver, NFL player, but at the same time, he played a lot of sports before he became a professional football player.
Yeah, I think that comes into play too. The other thing about Fitzpatrick is, I was talking a little bit about it on ACL as well, is his ability to, so his brain just works differently. We talked about the Wonderlic test, right? Almost scored a perfect score. So he's able to, what does that mean? That means he's able to follow instruction under pressure, which is exactly what he's going to need. He has the ability to problem solve, cognitive skills, which I think could come into play when these guys are taken out of their environment. They're getting dropped into this cornhole environment. They don't, they're not going to be standouts like they typically are in their other environments. So they're just trying to take all this in at the same time. And I'm sure, they're being put on this ESPN stage in front of their peers, in front of their fans, doing something completely outside of the box. So they're going to be dealing with nerves as well. But yeah, Tyler Lockett, track star, basketball player, football player, he might come in with that skill set. But, Fitzpatrick, I think that the mind part of that will help him get through this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'd be interesting to see if we see any flat bags out of either one of them, right?
I don't think
so. You said it best. You see the first flat bag that Anthony sees, that's who he's taking. That guy's got a flat bag. I'm taking him. So we jump over onto the other side of the bracket. And this is going to be, like I said, to me, this is almost harder to decipher because they seem so identical to me. You have 2 baseball players, former teammates that know each other. Then I did get some insider information. They've played cornhole together before in a locker room.
That's huge. That is huge.
Playing against or playing with alongside Jimmy McGuffin and Damon Dennis, both senior players, both similar strategies, play style, accolades, like all these things very, very similar. And now you get this team, this head-to-head matchup. It's like, you're going to see some smack talk between these two teams because Jimmy and Damon are going to have their own brand of like smack talk, right? And then, you get to the other end and, these guys have played together before. We're probably going to see some friendly banter, but to me, Anthony, it becomes so much harder to decipher who exactly can take it down.
Yeah. All I'm thinking is Dennis and McGuffin, do your partners a favor and put a slow bag in their hand. All you need is ones. They can hit a 2x4. But if they need to be able to hit a 2x4 and calculate the amount of slide and the loft, that's going to be a little bit difficult for them. So I think give them a little bit slower bag, hit the 2x4, give me a 4 PPR, you win. You give me 4 points, we're winning this bad boy. So I think that'll be key.
Yeah, I mean, and that was one thing I was going to talk about is bag selection, right? So so obviously Jimmy and Damon are ultra throwers this year. So what? Maybe a Psycho X or a Viper R or something along that lines. I mean, they're not going to be throwing psychos, regular psychos.
No psychos.
They're not going to be throwing regular Vipers, probably not. So
exactly.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe they go a carpet route, but then you got to make sure that you're throwing it at a high level. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's going to be key. I mean, Dennis and McGuffin, they're so similar, right? They're going to be going head to head. It's going to come down to what's going on the other side. I think that they could adjust to, but if you look at an infielder versus an outfielder, I think Turner has a little bit of an edge to me for there. Just that short toss. I'm sure he's done that a billion times. That little short toss from third base or wherever in the infield, I think that's going to be a little bit better than being an outfielder. The fact that you say that they've practiced is huge. I mean, we've heard it from some of the other celebrities, hey, I was a couple rounds in and I think I got the hang of this thing. So if someone comes in having even just put an hour or two of practice in, they're going to have a huge advantage just in that little bit of time. So I think practicing is going to be important.
And it all depends on like how valuable is the practice, right? That's the other part of it, right? I mean, is this knuckleballs down the way and hoping that they stay on the board type of play, or is this I don't know. I mean, it's just it can be tough. So no, I think it's gonna be a blast to watch, right? I mean, when we talk about some of these players, so competing on the stage, it's gonna be fun. And the thing that's always interesting is seeing how the celebrities adjust to playing a sport on the main stage that's not their primary sport. Like how many times do we get guys out there and all of a sudden, like Jay Cutler was nervous. Jay Cutler, he's played in some huge games. He's played NFC championship games, right? And he comes out there and he's nervous playing on the main stage. Like that's the other part that we got to think about is like who can handle the nerves of playing a sport that's outside their comfort zone.
Yeah, you nailed it. I was in the tent with Cutler. It's weird when you're trying to like give someone else some like words of confidence. It's like, dude, you're a beast. You would outplay, in an athletic sport. You're probably, one of the best athletes in this building, but you're trying to like calm a guy because he's completely out of his environment. But hey, I think that's why, the flasks are coming out of the fanny packs, man. These guys need a little something to just kind of curb the edge. And hey, if someone comes over to the booth, Trey, and is trying to pour shots in my mouth, I'm going for it. I'm just saying.
Especially if it's Fireball. Especially if it's Fireball. That's your weakness. That is your weakness. Yeah. I've seen it firsthand, ladies and gentlemen. Anthony Ayon's weakness is a Fireball shot and a 2 a.m. Waffle House. Those are his absolute weaknesses.
Yeah, I think it was after my first ESPN broadcast with Jeff. I was like, I need a shot. And Jeff's like, I'll do one. I was like, right now? He's like, wait, right now? I was like, right now. So he's like, let's go.
I love it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's your preview of this coming weekend. Again, we have a great lineup. We have the first pro shootout finale of the season. So again, 8 pro shootouts throughout the regular season. Each shootout is going to have a women's singles, a men's singles, and a doubles winner. Each of those winners gets an automatic bid to the Shootout Championship at the World Championships this year, where we'll have a women's singles, a men's singles, and a doubles final 8, playing all the way down to a final 1 to become a Pro Shootout champion. This past season, Josh Holland wins men's singles, Cheyenne Renner Bubenheim wins women's singles, and of course, on the doubles side, back-to-back champions Brett Guy and Eric Davis win it for the second year in a row. So we are looking to see who's been the first set of players qualified for that Shootout Championship event. Men's singles, Jamie Graham versus Kyle Malone. Women's singles, Rosie Streaker versus Cheyenne Bubenheim. And in doubles, we have Jimmy McGuffin and Damon Dennis taking on Ryan Wiedenfeld and Ryan Smith. Then, of course, SuperHole 4, we got 4 celebrities, 4 ACL pros. Make sure you tune in to watch them. Ryan Fitzpatrick going to be playing alongside ACL pro Ryan Smith. Tyler Lockett going to be playing alongside Cheyenne Bubenheim. Justin Turner going to be playing alongside Damon Dennis, and Jock Peterson playing with Jimmy McGuffin. That all takes place Friday, February 10th, 10:30 p.m. Mountain Time. That's local time. That's 12:30 a.m. Eastern, so a late one just after midnight on ESPN2. 2 straight hours of live cornhole action on ESPN2. Anthony, any last thoughts, big predictions, bold predictions? I know we do our hot takes, so I don't know what necessarily want to do a hot take, but maybe the one key to the weekend. What's the one thing people need to be watching for this weekend as they tune into all the great coverage?
Man, the one thing, that's tough. That's tough. I think board speed is going to be the one factor everyone's going to have to try and figure out. So with that in mind, on the double side, I do like the 2 BG throwers coming in with a controlled speed game. Obviously, we talked about Ryan Wiedenfeld making his ESPN debut, the reigning world amateur champ. That would be amazing if he came out and won his first ESPN broadcast. What? That would be pretty crazy. But if you watch around the ACL, I did take a hot take on that. Hey, again, we have this David versus Goliath thing going on, right? We have these players with all of these championships and these players trying to make comebacks. Keep an eye on the comeback players. Streaker, certainly in position to do that, as well as Malone. They could both get it. They could both get it.
Yeah. I think all eyes got to be on Ryan Wiedenfeld. What he's gone through over the past few weeks, for him to be able to get on this court for the main stage for the first time with all his family watching, everybody watching at home, I think it's just going to make for an incredible broadcast, and I can't wait to see it. Also, second thing, a little higher note, uplifting note, I can't wait to watch the dynamic trio of Anthony Ayon, Jeff McCarriger, and Michelle Thompson all delivering some great cornhole action this coming Friday. So thank you so much all for tuning in to this week's episode of ACL Live. Again, make sure you tune in on Friday to all of the action on ESPN2 live from Scottsdale, Arizona. For my partner in crime this evening, Anthony Ayon, this has been Trey Ryder saying so long, and we will see you in Scottsdale.